Our monthly theme continues to be self-care. And last week we spoke about the balancing of grief with joy. And I do want to recognize that Father's Day can be a sad time for some of us that may have lost our fathers or who are no longer with our children. And I was thinking of that too. I lost my father this year, as you know, and so because Father's Day was coming up, I noticed myself, I kept just like not wanting to pay attention that today was Father's Day. I just noticed that I was doing that, right? I was not wanting to feel the sadness. And anyway, balancing grief with joy, right? So here I am, balancing grief with joy. I mean, part of the way I experience joy is being in community and singing these songs together and just being here with you all. So that was last week. Today's topic is on pleasure. And so that's why I was remembering that scripture, that it's God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And it's my pleasure to be your bridge minister, right? And I was thinking of that, you know. So the pleasure definition, noun. A feeling of happy satisfaction and enjoyment. Synonyms, happiness, delight, joy, glee, satisfaction, fulfillment, and contentment. Just saying those things lifts my spirit. So what stands in our way of experiencing pleasure fully? That's a question. And one of the things that I was reading about was that it's our mind. If we're having anger or resentment or discontent, how can we truly, fully feel pleasure? I don't think we can. We could get glimpses of it now and then, but those things can stand in our way. So how do we support ourselves in experiencing pleasure? And one of the things is doing mindful meditation or doing things that we love to do. I had the pleasure of walking with Judy Silberman this week. She came to walk with me. And one of the things I love is just going for walks in nature. And I went to that new walk this week that I hadn't been on, that Rev Rafe used to take people on a lot, which was the Wolf Creek Trail on Allison Ranch Road and Freeman Lane. That was delightful. That Wolf Creek was just, it was so clean and active, and you know, negative ions come off of water, and those are really good for us. They lift our spirits, and just hearing the frogs and the birds. And I was not walking with anyone, except I never feel alone, so I was walking with everything that was around me, right? And so I was really appreciating that trail. And so if any of you want to walk on it with me, I'll be going on that one again. So walking is one of the ways that I bring myself pleasure. Another thing that I love to do that brings me pleasure is to do nothing, is to just sit and be in nature. I mean, I could do that for hours. Sitting or lying in a hammock, looking up at the blue sky and the clouds. So a couple of days ago, I was sitting in the swinging chair outside, and I was just sitting there doing nothing and just grateful for the opportunity to give myself that gift of just being. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the flowers that weren't blooming the day before and just noticing the beauty of the wild lilies and the red blossoms and just hearing the birds. And I saw a jackrabbit, and you know, what I realize whenever I take the time to do that, whether it's at the beach in Baja or in the woods up here or wherever I am, if I just sit and be, I'll notice things that are happening all around me. Life is happening everywhere around, right? And when I'm doing that, I recognize that I am a part of it. I really feel connected to it. I don't feel like this is me and that's nature. I feel like I'm a part of nature. And so I was sitting there and I looked over to the right and there was a lizard. And there was something wiggling on the little cement thing by the lizard. And I'm like, what in the world is that? And I got up and I walked over there and there was a worm. And I'm like, I had no idea, and I learned this at 64, that lizards eat worms. I thought they just ate insects. They eat worms. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. They're carnivores. I was like, I caught a lot of those when I was a kid. I had no idea. But then so then I went back and I sat down again. The most wonderful thing happened. I'm just sitting there, just being right. Now the corner of my eye, I catch something move, and I look down at the bottom of the steps, and there was a bobcat. And I said, hi, bobcat. And he turned around and looked at me, and I go, kitty, kitty, kitty. And then he proceeded to leave, right? But I realized that was probably the bobcat that woke me up a couple of weeks ago when something loud landed on the roof. I'm like, what in the world was that? And there's a bunch of logs and sticks outside the window. And every night I hear what I think are wood rats, because I lived somewhere else and we had wood rats. And so I hear them, right? And then every once in a while, in the middle of the night, I'll hear this commotion out there where the wood is. And so now I'm thinking that's the bobcat going after the rats. And so anyway, that was delightful. I didn't get to see the big bear that came through a week or so ago, but Frederick caught a beautiful photo of it. And so just being part of nature, really feeling that, is one of the ways that I bring myself pleasure. Or I went to lunch with somebody a couple of days ago, and they gave me a box of chocolates. See's candy, right? And I was like, I never buy myself that kind of stuff because I have a sweet tooth and I like to eat more than I should. So I opened it up and I started eating the chocolate, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, just savoring the taste of each different one, right? And I do that with food too. It's a pleasure for me to go out to dinner. And I love the food, and I love to eat good, healthy food. And people actually have said that they love to cook for me or take me out because I love the food so much. And so there's that pleasure of eating delicious things. Or one of the things I do for myself is go get a pedicure. Sitting in those chairs, the massage chairs, oh my gosh, that's one of the gifts I give myself too. So there's all these different ways that we can give our self-pleasure. And there's a quote by Ernest Holmes that I wanted to share. And he says, anyone wishing to develop a pleasant personality must first become pleasant and think comforting thoughts. And that reminds me of our teachings, right? In order to experience the thing we want to experience, we need to be the person, or, be the change you want to see in the world. So we've got to be pleasant ourselves. And how do we do that, right? How do you put pleasant thoughts in your mind? There's affirmations and prayer and all kinds of things to do that. But it's important. If we want to truly enjoy life to the fullest, let's be pleasant. We can be pleasant, right? And one of the things that happens when we are in a state of being pleasant is we can have a feeling of calmness and peace and tranquility wash over us. And that's one of the benefits of meditation. So having a daily spiritual practice of prayer, meditation, looking at affirmations, whatever works for you, let's do that. One of the things about self-care is Self-care is an act that brings us pleasure, taking care of ourselves. So just noticing, what things, what ways can you take care of yourself that bring you pleasure? Having love yourself, right? Thank you. That was
the bottom line.
yeah. It's part. Yep.
Happiness is out there. It's loving yourself, and that's your connection.
Exactly. So, loving ourself
With a capital S.
with a capital S. Right. This is right here. Did you read the notes?
No, but everything you're saying, I was thinking.
It's in the notes. There's only one mind, right? So that brings me to the topic of loving ourself with a capital S. Because if we truly know who we are the self with a capital S. Right? And the capital S self is divine. So loving ourself is loving the one creator that created us all. It's that infinite source of supply and goodness. It's that energy, that vibration that holds us all together. I like to think of it as a golden liquid thread of light, or golden light that I'm in and it is in me. And there's that oneness and unity. There's not separation. So thank you, Linda. Mm-hmm. Right? Linda's just reminding me that we're all one. So whatever I do for myself, I'm doing for everyone else.
I'm always amazed how different everybody looks. I'm noticing now, it's like, wow, we all have our own personality, and we're all connected.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's that beautiful expression of uniqueness that shows up as each one of us, that we're so individually unique
And dressing differently.
and different, right? It makes life interesting.
I watch people and how they dress, and
Uh-huh.
your
Yep.
personality comes out.
Yep. And so each one of us has our own gifts and our own innate talents to share with the world. And so Centers for Spiritual Living's global theme for the year is living out loud. So the better we get to know ourselves and know what our talents and our skills are, the more opportunity we can say yes to sharing those with the world. So I just want to remind us that, we're living in an amazing time of transformation on the outside, but also on the inside. As within, so without, right? So all the stuff we see going on the outside in the world, we can be experiencing those things too in ourselves. As a community, we're going through transition. Things that no longer serve us are falling away. That which wants to emerge is emerging. We need to be awake and aware and open and receptive and thinking out of the box. We have that brainstorming that's forming now. If you want to participate in brainstorming on how to keep our center going when my contract ends at the end of August, there's 4 Science of Mind ministers in this county. So we're going to start brainstorming. What could be next? What are the possibilities? I have total faith in the universe. My faith started at age 3 when I got lost in the woods. And I knew that I could pray to my Heavenly Father and get home. So it shaped my whole life. What a gift. And I was following my dad. My dad was going out hunting in the woods. My dad gave me gifts that I didn't realize until now that I'm older. Right? And what Linda said, I want to remind us that pleasure and joy are not something outside that we can touch. They're already within us. It is the truth of our being that we have pleasure and joy inside of us. And to be able to experience those to the fullest, let's figure out what's getting in the way. There's just this life right here, right now. And the mind gets in the way. Yeah. Those false ideas and thoughts that we're separate from Source. And so I want to just close with a prayer. And just remembering that there is that one infinite source and supply of all goodness, all pleasure, all joy, and it is inside of us. It is always there, available and ready. And so we have the opportunity to choose in every moment our thoughts, which affect our feelings, which attract more of the same. And so to be consciously aware of what we're thinking and feeling and choose those things that bring us more joy, more pleasure, affect not only ourselves, but the whole world. And so I'm so grateful to remember this truth today for myself and each one of us here. And I just say thank you for this beautiful opportunity to live again this beautiful life that I call God's life. I get to live it. I get to do it with you. And so it is.